Okay. What we're going to talk about here is a bunch of stuff that lines up with how we prepare for lead departures, getting a more collected lead departure on the horse, and flying lead changes eventually. A lot of the shaping, the positioning, everything that we do, I try to keep it very similar feeling in the horse's mind so that they can start to link these concepts together and it makes sense. One of my heroes was a famous dressage trainer named Nuno Oliveira, and he had a lot of great quotes over the years. And one of his most underrated genius insights was that a flying lead change is a lead departure made from the canter itself. So if we unpack that logically, the way I think about a flying lead change is that you are essentially, while you're already in motion at the lope, you get the horse into a position that is analogous to a collected lead departure, say from a walk on a straight line. So the entire lead change, lead departure, and lead change program that I have is built around that principle of teaching the horse just muscle memory and getting them anchored on certain positions and being comfortable where their balance is shifted in a more optimal way to take whatever lead I want, and that becomes the most obvious and natural choice. You know, in my colt starting program, I'm not super picky at first about what lead the horses take. I'll let the horse trot into it. I'll kind of gently guide him around. I'll do that rollback on the fence exercise. But I gradually start getting more and more picky and more aware of getting them in the correct lead as we're going around. But we really don't work on anything to do with collected lead departures until later on in the training. We don't want to work on that until we built a few things. I'm going to go ahead and warm this horse up here, and we're going to check those boxes as I go. The first one is this bending with vertical exercise. If you guys remember the big 5 skills that scale: drive, direction, coil, collection, compression. Those last 3, coil, collection, compression, are what I call the high level skills. Where we start building collection is with this bending with vertical exercise. It initially just starts with getting the horse soft and kind of wrapped around our rib cage on a circle, and then we start layering in more refined control of their balance. We talk about putting a little bit of face on that horse, adding some vertical as well as lateral softness. We talk about that inside hind leg to a certain extent, kind of stepping up underneath the horse and getting the hindquarters engaged, still maintaining forward motion though. We don't want to lose our hip and just have them, fishtailing it and drifting off the circle unless we deliberately try to push their hip off the circle. But we do want that hip engaged. We need that forward motion there. The other thing we start talking about as we advance is what's happening in the front end, right? Not only do we want to feel honest intention and a committed line of movement with that inside front foot staying on the circle, but that outside front foot and shoulder kind of has that coming over the top feeling where the horse feels like they're more gathered throughout their entire body. They're not just tipping their nose in. They're not just bending around your inside leg. There's a higher level of engagement there. What's really happening in that, when a horse feels that way, is they're engaging a little bit more with their hindquarters. So they've got their butt up under them, not necessarily leading with the hip and having it way angled in to the inside, but it is tucked up under them a little bit. At the same time, they're engaging their core, and they're kind of stepping into the bridle. There's a feeling of throughness there. So that's kind of the layers of refinement that we go through in the bending with vertical drill, and then we expand that. We just literally take these same mechanics, the same muscle memory that we build on a small circle at a walk, let's say, and we scale that up to a jog and then up to a lope. But I'm not going to worry about getting a collected lead departure until I can reliably do that shaping and get that horse gathered and soft like that, bent with vertical at a walk, trot, and canter on a circle. So that's the big checkpoint there. the next one, well, I'm kind of going in reverse order. So we've got collection, which maps to our bending with vertical exercise. But I want to talk about coil or draw. Either one is a good term for this feeling and this movement we're trying to create. Even on a reining horse or something that's not going to work cattle, I will still teach them a cow horse style turn. Now, why do we do that? Well, it's for a couple reasons. The primary reason is that it's a really great way for me to create engagement of the hind end and start manipulating that horse's balance at a higher level. Get them to use themselves, load up their weight into their hocks, make their front end light while also staying pliable up front. Meaning that I'm not reliant, for example, when I do my stopping program, if that horse runs down and is stopping, they're on the front end and I'm losing that hind quarter engagement, that horse isn't driving uphill and pushing with their hindquarters. If they're just coasting, I can use that turnaround on the foot exercise as a correction or even a reprimand for that really crappy front end heavy stop without having to rip the horse backward, keeping them straight from nose to tail, which can work. The reason people pull horses back over their hocks and back them up, run them forward, stop, back up 100 million times is because they're trying to associate the stop or the cue for the stop with that loading up action, that draw or that coil, that gathering into the hindquarters. But the problem with that is because you're slamming the horse effectively into a barrier and then pulling them straight back, you can teach stiffness over time. In fact, you can get that horse almost anticipating running into your hands, and then they start to preemptively brace up and get tense in the front end before you've even picked up on their face. They're already front end heavy. So you're fighting your own problem, essentially. We can negate all that with the turnaround on the foot exercise. It becomes a really useful tool as well as a correction that we use across our riding. This is something, too, that is game-changing for lead departures, especially horses that are sloppy, that are lazy, that it's hard to get them picked up and create any sort of lift to get them gathered to then step off into the lope. Those horses that want to be very forward and rambly and just totally unathletic, this is a great way to teach better muscle memory and better movement patterns. Now, contrast that with a horse like this one that's more athletic and sensitive. Well, his problem might not be that he's super lazy and won't let me pick up on him. It might actually be that he's so energetic or wants to kind of escape my hands and legs that he kind of squirts and wriggles out of that instead of allowing me to gather him, get his balance position in the best way to lope off in the lead that I'm asking for. My whole job up here in the saddle, the way I look at it, is I'm a facilitator. I'm trying to put the horse physically in a better position to do the maneuver than they would do if left to their own devices. So we're going to do a little bit of draw or turn on the foot, in fact, with this horse. And I'm just going to take it slow because this is something he's historically struggled with. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to walk him forward a little bit here. Because I don't want this to be fast, you can think of this as a slow motion version of a rollback turn. Our rollback exercise on the fence where we just turn and go, this is a slow motion version of that. But what I'm initially trying to do is just get this horse positioned with his nose bent, in this case, to the left, but just let me shape him at a standstill so you can see him kind of moving around. All I'm going to do in response to that is just get him pushed up and see if I can get him to hold the ground and just stand with all 4 feet on the ground, and then I'll release to that, okay? We're going to really break it down and make it slow for this horse because he already, like his level of training, I can trot him, I can lope him off just fine out of a jog, okay? But if I try to do anything, if I try to go under the hood and really start working on his balance, or I try to make a correction, he tends to get rattled about it sometimes. So I'm going to really slow this down. I'm going to shape him to the other side, again at a standstill. What I'm doing is I'm just bringing on some inside leg. In this case, I'm going right, so that's my right leg. I'm trying to keep those shoulders in the same position as I bring his head around. If he shifts around, I'm just gently pressing or maybe lightly bumping to try to get his body line back up. When I first started doing this, he would dance around way too much. So I'll show you what I would do with him. I would go over to a fence like this, get him essentially parallel to the fence, stop, and then tip his nose into the fence. When he would try to move away or turn through just from me trying to tip his nose, I block him, kind of wedge him up there with my, in this case, my left foot, and keep him, keep his body basically from his withers on back parallel to the fence. Then once he accepts that, maybe I flex him a couple times here, just shape at a standstill. Then I can bring a little neck rein on, activate my outside leg, and draw him through that turn. I'll come around and do the other side. This is a drill that I do actually at all three gaits, walk, trot, and canter. And it's a great way, especially if a horse is real busy, is not really secure, won't let you take a hold of them. It gets them more settled in this. You can see I'm wedging that right foot up under him, just asking him to get back parallel to the fence here, while also keeping that shoulder where it needs to be, not trying to turn. Okay? When that inside leg is on, in this case my left leg, the one closest to the fence, when that's on slightly as I pick up, it means keep your shoulders where they are. Basically shape yourself. Keep those shoulders there, but bring your nose to me. That's what I'm telling him. Okay, so now he feels very settled and relaxed in this position. So now, after I've shaped him a couple times, I'll draw him through that. What this horse is historically very weak about, however, and you just kind of saw it there, is when you do ask him to turn, he's a little bit hesitant or reluctant to come through himself and to set up his balance in a particular way where he kind of gets his weight into his outside hind leg. So in this case, it would be over here on my left. I want him to kind of sit into that left hip and use that as a platform to turn. And then this inside front foot, the one closest to the fence over here, I want that to step back and effectively clear himself out of his own way when I go to do this turn. If the horse does that correctly, you feel a sense of security where you can feel them plant that hind foot. They feel very confident and very steady. In his case, what he often does is he takes a bunch of extra steps, both with his front and his hind feet, where I'll put him in a position like this. Then I'll go to draw him through a little turn like that, and he's already, kind of losing the hip. He loses his connection to his outside hind foot or his front leg sometimes. Instead of stepping back out of his own way to facilitate that turn, sometimes he will step directly into the fence, or in many cases, he will literally step forward, the opposite of the direction that I'm trying to turn. So like I'm trying to turn this way to my left, and yet his left front leg is doing this as its first step before he then rocks back. We need to train better muscle memory so that when I bring that neck rein on and I get him in that position to draw his weight back, he gets into that move immediately and comfortably. He's not taking extra steps or hesitant at all. He just comes with me. So I'm going to do a couple more, and my goal here, while we're being super slow about it, is to just get it super relaxed. I'll take this off the fence in a second, but I'm just showing how, you can use this as a gauge to keep the horse in the correct position, okay? Maybe I even help try to get him loaded up the correct way by backing him a couple steps shaped and then smoothly draw him under himself and through the turn. As, he was started as a reiner and he was effectively trained for maneuvers, so he associates any kind of neck rein with turn fast and do it now, but not necessarily with good mechanics. That's why, you can put that neck rein on and ask him to turn left, but his left front foot tries to go right as its first step because he's a little bit all over the place, not really committed or relaxed in that movement. So we're going to help that here. I'm just going to rock him back in a very relaxed way and then try to time the start of my turn to where that inside front foot is going back out of his way. So if you can feel what those feet are doing under you, you can help that. I'll just do this off the fence here, and we'll go both ways for a couple minutes. I'm just going to rock him back just a step, just until I feel a weight shift to help him kind of clear, and then we'll go. Now, I'm immediately letting him out of the turn for right now, but here in a second, I'll keep him in there longer. I'll ask him to shift and then hold that position longer. But when we're initially doing this, and if we're trying to keep it relaxed on a horse that maybe has struggled, you got to give them that immediate release first. Let them know that there is an answer. So this is much better. He's letting me shape him here. Now I'm just going to rock him back, relaxed, bring the neck rein on, and you can kind of see if you watch his front feet, like he's trying to basically step forward through that as opposed to get back, okay? If he gets back into himself and finds a base of support and uses his hindquarters, how he turns instantly feels better. So we'll go through that again here. I'm actually going to do that same side. If you were watching closely, you saw him kind of scramble around before he found kind of a baseline there of balance. And that's really what I'm trying to do is I'm kind of deliberately putting him in a little bit of a difficult position to see if I can motivate him to find his own balance. I'm going to help him get started, but for him to learn this, he has to be good about finding it himself, okay? So there he's trying to basically shoot out of it like the moment I bring that neck rein on. So he's kind of scrambling around here. All I'm going to do is widen my hands here, like if he gets basically lost and is just trying to turn fast. I just widen my hands, I slowed him down, and then I'll go back to it, okay? Because they'll oscillate between, okay, I'll move my shoulder versus I just want to back up, okay? So he had somewhat of the right idea there, but it was too quick. Just going to wait on him here. He needs to understand when my legs are on in this type of way, I don't want a fast turn. It's not about speed. It's about, can you get your balance here and just allow yourself to come through there. Use your hindquarters as more of a base of support. Get into yourself, activate those butt muscles, and use that as a platform for a balanced turn. What he's basically doing is anytime somebody brings the neck rein on, he thinks about turning fast and just moving his feet fast. It's really not what we want very much. We want him to shift his balance, but be controlled about it. So I'm just going to back him up just a step if I can, and then see if I can smoothly, just widening my hand here to catch him so he doesn't just get stuck in a loop here. Get into yourself there. You're thinking. Okay, he's still just kind of warbling around. He's not quite sure where he's supposed to be here. There. Okay, if you watch his hind feet, that tells you a lot about how secure he is. Okay, now I'm going to let him have that, although it wasn't very pretty. I did feel him make an attempt to hold his balance there for at least a couple steps. And that's really what we're trying to feel for, that kind of chaotic, like, quantum superposition type oscillation he's got going. We need to quiet all that nervous energy and just get him confident to load up into himself, create a platform, and then just turn and be able to stay there without trying to escape constantly. Okay. Now, without backing him, I'm just going to draw him into this smooth. I'm just bumping with my outside foot here, just gauging that neck rein as needed. I don't need very much tension because if I pull real hard, he's just going to try to turn fast and duck away from it. Normally, I'd go to my inside hip. This horse needs the opposite. He actually needs me to open my hands a little bit and inhibit his desire to scramble around. Okay, there I just got in his way and kind of stopped him because he was stuck in a backup loop. Okay, you can see him he's just not very confident. Okay, he made an attempt. We're going to get up out of it. We're going to go over here. We're going to set that up again. He made an attempt to hold a position there with his hind end. So I'm going to reward that. All I'm doing is just kind of waiting on him to settle a little bit more. I'm doing what I can to try to encourage that. But ultimately, just like with the forward and around exercise and the spin, he has to be the one to find this balance. I can only do so much. I just have to get him in the position over and over to where he starts to see a contrast between when he does it right versus when he does it wrong, and then starts to take ownership of that. Okay, that was a little bit, although he stepped on himself kind of. Okay, that was actually a good effort that time. I can feel like if I'm paying attention to how his muscles feel, what his back is doing, what his neck is doing, what his hindquarters are doing, you can feel when there's a higher level of try, you can feel those muscles activating, and he's not just scrambling around looking for an instant out. He's trying to make sense of that position. And what he's doing is he's trying to think, okay, how can I shift my body in a way that makes this feel better? So I'm trying to basically help him organize himself here. I'm deliberately putting him in a difficult position, somewhat deliberately off balance, and then seeing if he can put the puzzles together. I'm just going to ask him to move here. You can see there's so much of a forward. Okay. There we go. Okay, I'm going to let him have that. Again, it wasn't perfect. There's a lot of unsureness there. Like, he's very unsteady. He's almost kind of twitchy. Like, he's worried about doing something wrong, maybe being in trouble. Obviously, that is a difficult position. He's not really used to that. So I'm taking it very slow. Let's try that again. I'm just going to stop him here. We're going to shape him up. Okay. Now I will back him a step here just to see if I can get a little bit of movement in the system. There we go. Sit on your butt. Just slowing him down here, just opening that outside hand like a brake. Now there, I'm really not doing anything. Like, I was just waiting on him to do that. Just slow down. I'm not asking you to do anything here. Okay? One of the things that this horse needs to understand is how to let me gauge pressure and only respond. There we go. Only respond with the level of intensity that I'm really asking for. This is something that, like, that's a tendency in a horse to, like, really overdo it, try to immediately duck and run off your leg. That can either be a bad habit or it can just be innate sometimes. Sometimes it's a combo where bad training reinforces that tendency in a horse to try to hide and escape from your hands and legs and effectively run away from pressure. But you see that a lot too with horses that are talented, athletic, kind of naturally ambitious. They're smart, so they pick up on patterns. They start to realize, oh, I go here, I get a release of pressure. And then they try to offer to do that faster because they think that's what you want, or they feel like that's what they should be doing in order to make their life easier. They're like, oh, you want me to turn? Oh, shit, I can turn all day. I can go right now. I can go fast. And what starts to happen is that horse loses awareness of the level of energy that the rider actually is putting on. It would be like if you had a car that was actually pretty steady. I'm just going to let him sit there, in fact. Well, of course, he was taking a dump. I hate that when you start to feel, oh shit, this thing's getting broke. We're getting somewhere. Nope, they were just taking a crap. Okay. But my timing was still good on that, I felt like. Anyway, getting back to my little car analogy, it would be like if you had a car that sometimes when you stepped on the gas pedal, let's say you pressed it by 50%. Sometimes, though, when you press it down 50%, the car like roars forward at 1,000 million RPMs and like is 100% open, wide open throttle, right? Driving a car that's that unpredictable would be Kind of terrifying. But that's what a lot of horses have. You just apply light pressure and they're like, oh, I got to go, 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 go. And they're trying to scramble away from it. And that's kind of what this horse does, where all I'm saying is, hey, look, just like our other shaping and our bending drills, just stay with me here. Read the situation. You're not in trouble just because there's pressure on you. Okay? What he's struggling to do right now is to get that inside front foot out of the way and orient his balance and use that outside hind leg, okay, and create a platform. This is very counterintuitive for him. He's used to a forward, he's trained for maneuvers. He doesn't have a super polished and finished spin on him yet. But the spin that he does have, it's very forward. So he basically is thinking to himself, oh shit, if I don't get off this neck rein, I don't step in front, take a forward crossover step, I'm going to be in serious trouble. That's what's on his mind right now. So when he does that and he starts scrambling, I'm just staying in there and trying to slow him down and say, look, here, maintain awareness of what position you're in right now. Don't just scramble and try to escape. Consider a little bit more about what we're doing here. Yes, my leg is on. Yes, the neck rein is on. But it doesn't necessarily mean you're in trouble. Okay? There. That little sequence right there. The last couple steps, he really, like that turn, it got solid. I felt a lot less chaotic, like twitchy, warbling energy in the middle of his body, because you can feel that with your legs. Like, my legs are close enough to him. I can feel those muscles firing, and I can feel him trying to get his balance. Those last couple steps of that turn before I released the pressure, they felt solid. They felt relaxed. And his balance was shifted the correct way. Let's do that again. I'm just going to stop him here. Okay. You might say, well, why are you building this on him? This is not a maneuver. Like, this isn't a reining maneuver. Well, I'll tell you, not only is it going to influence our stops, not only will it influence our rollbacks, but it's going to be a key part of our corrections when we go to start working on lead departures. If we can do this well, it gives me a troubleshooting tool. Anytime he's losing his balance, he's not stepping off, using his hindquarters like he should be, I'm having trouble, if he's being rambly and forward and I'm having trouble creating engagement, this is something that I can go to. Okay, a little bit fast for my taste. He was trying, so I'm not going to release, but I'm just going to reset. There. He thought about it. Now he kind of lost it there. You can see his balance, like if you watch his back, it's like dipping up and down and like rolling over and in and out. And believe me, there. I'm feeling that chaotic, warbling, canoe in a hurricane type energy. But when it quiets and it gets still and it gets solid, that's what I'm rewarding. I'm releasing the pressure, like letting him have a total release, in fact, just to highlight and create a contrast in his mind of like, yes, that's what I wanted. Okay. We'll see if we can do like one or two more. I don't expect perfection. This is something I'll keep chipping away at. But it's something I definitely want to build on this horse. That's nice there. Again, he's not over-anticipating that the second I tip his nose, he's just going to run through that. Now we'll take him into it, see if I can... okay. Now I helped him again with the outside rein. But that inside front foot had a better move to start with. Okay, that was a little rushed. Again, slowing him down. Every time you see me do that to the side with the outside rein, it's like I'm putting the brake on. I'm trying to slow down that turn. Because when a horse does that, yes, they think they're doing something good, or they think they're maybe offering you something that you want. or they're trying to make their life easier. So it's nothing nefarious, but if you think about it logically, what are they really doing in that situation? They are taking decisions away from you about what position to be in, how to orient their balance, or what speed to be going. If you're not asking for 100% intensity, yet they're trying to give it, they're fundamentally not listening to you. Okay? Now again, that effort comes from a good place, but it's fundamentally a breakdown of communication. It'd be like if I asked my employee to do like one small task and they like remodel the entire barn in one night. It's like, that's awesome, but you didn't listen to what I asked for, right? All I need is something simple right now. Okay, that was relaxed. Now I'm slowing him down here. That was good as well. I'm feeling more of a solid feeling there in terms of his balance in his back and in his hindquarters. He's creating a platform. Now he's thinking really hard. So he's like, dude, am I good here? You know, he's not able to hold it for a ton of time, but we're getting a better feeling there. Now we haven't done any to the right. Let's just do one to kind of test the water, and then we'll move on. Just going to get him stopped here and put him in that shaped position. Make sure he can hold that. In fact, I'm just going to pet him there, because that's important too. I just don't want him to instantly start turning or throwing his own ideas. Like if I do this, but my leg is blocking, keep that shoulder where it is. He did it. So now let's just kind of get some, prime the pump a little bit, try to help him. Good. I just put the brake on just a little bit, like there again. There again, put the brake on because he was trying to go forward out of that. Okay. There. Now you can see every time he tries to go forward and shoot out of it before I'm ready, I'm just catching him. Just kind of corralling that energy here. So he's wondering like, dude, what am I doing here? There. I'm going to actually let him out of that. I felt like one stride in there that was perfect, a few others that were okay. I'll let him have that. We'll do like one or two more until it's a little bit better. I don't expect perfection yet. This is only, we've been chipping away at this concept here, and this is a big area that I don't necessarily want to rush. It's not important that this gets done in a day. Just going to start the process, get him thinking. I'm just holding that brake just a little bit as needed there. There we go. Again, slowed him down, deliberately trying to make him think here. Don't just flip away from my cues. Use your hindquarters. Okay? Why am I not releasing to that? Because I'm feeling forward energy. It doesn't feel like he's really setting that outside hind. I'm not feeling a lot of commitment there. I'm just waiting patiently, letting him think. Okay, because he wants to default. That's what he knows. He knows the muscle memory and positioning associated with a spin. It's not what I want right now. I'm just letting him feel through it. So, okay, he didn't get a release. What else are we going to try? Okay. I keep blocking him there when he defaults to a reining style turn. And he tries to lean forward on that. So he's going to start thinking here, okay, what does this dude actually want? There again, especially if you can hear them and feel them stepping on themselves, you've got conflicting energy here. Okay, my inside leg is on a little bit. I'm trying to put the brake on, trying to help him so he doesn't just race through this. Because if he can load up in a more methodical way, okay, now I'm going to let him have that. Although it wasn't great, I would give that like a C, those last couple steps there before I released. I got to give him something. All right. It's like, all right, I've misjudged. I thought that based on the previous one, he would get it a little sooner. We stayed in there for quite a while. So in the interest of not having him be too frustrated, I'll give him a little breadcrumb just then. Do the same thing here. Okay, we'll kind of get ourselves set. I'll go ahead and just bring on a little bit of leg. There we go. Okay. Had the right initial thoughts, like how he started to kind of gather into himself, and there, where his inside front foot went at the start of the turn and then on that last step was perfect. The thing is, though, I can feel a really good shift of balance when he does that, but he can't hold it. You notice that's a big theme across a lot of the stuff that we do. You know, when we talk about going under the hood of more advanced things like lead departures, spins, stops, these fundamental positions are little bits of muscle memory that we have to build on a horse. It's not, we don't just want them to be able to do it in like a flash in the pan little sparkle. We want it to be consistent, right? Don't just give me the position for like a tenth of a second. Hold that, maintain that, see if we can do something within that. Okay. There, I didn't ask him to turn, and he didn't over anticipate. He's just with me. Okay. Do the same thing here. There, his mind is going exactly where I wanted it to go. That was actually pretty damn good there. He got a little bit lost after like the first half of the turn. So I'm just seeing if I can slow things down a bit and finish a little bit better. Okay. Now, that time he made a big effort to like get back into himself. He really reached to the side and back with his inside front. So he's trying new shit now. He realizes, okay, this is not a spin like the maneuver that I know. This is something different. So now he's kind of orienting himself. He's trying to figure out a better balanced position because he realizes, okay, I'm thinking spin. This dude is thinking something totally different, and it's not mapping, it's not tracking. So what have I got to do to make this feel better? He's starting to stumble onto the answer here. Like there, I just slowed him down a hair. Now he's backing. He's not really turning like I want. And that's what they'll do. They'll go from backing up too much to being too forward in like a split second. And your ability to kind of catch them, adjust, reset, slow them down, or increase energy if you need it is crucial here. This is where people go wrong with this. They pull horses around, they crank on them, they rip them around, and they're always quick about it. And I'm trying to use this to create positioning. Something more, okay. Yes, those are the right thoughts. Still wanting to try to be quick, and I'm having to hold the brake on him, but it was better that time. We're just getting little glimpses of doing this better. You want to see the finished product, keep watching these videos. We're going to get there with this horse. Lily's videos, too, they show the finished product of a horse that really knows this. We'll do one more that way. I'm really pleased the last couple times that I've gone to the right with what his initial first reaction has been to that pressure. Like the way his body feels and how soft he is. Now here I didn't ask him to move yet, so I'm just going to move him forward a step. Flex here and just shape and then do nothing else. Okay, move forward again. Flex and just hold that shape. Okay. Again, I didn't ask for the turn yet. Just going to wait. There we go. Let's go over here. Same thing. We're going to post up. Shape. My inside leg goes on slightly. He held that position. Very good. Okay. Let's see what we can do here. I'm just going to smoothly Watch that inside front. See what it did? Very good. Good boy. Good boy. Okay. That was a lot more methodical and considered. Like, all I'm doing with my outside leg is keeping it close. This horse is sensitive enough, like just a little touch of the spur, kind of a light press. A lot of times I don't even have to bump to get his feet moving. And he's still trying to duck and rush away from it. That time, he was very methodical and chill and considered about it. And that's really all we need at this stage. We just need him to start understanding the contrast between that versus a spin. Okay, let's move on to our lead departure segment. So we got the bending with vertical earlier. We made a little bit of a pit stop at those slow motion rollbacks and that turn on the foot. Okay, you saw how I modified that for this horse. Now, let's go back to our shaping. So what we're going to start doing, we're going to break this into 3 phases. I'll just kind of follow the rail, like cut the arena in half, and I'll go up the fence one side and then down the middle the other. We're going to practice kind of 3 little steps here. We have our shape on the circle that we've built up to this point. I'm just going to demonstrate it here. And this is something that we can do if it's not consistent, is reestablish it on the circle and then bring that inside leg forward and kind of channel that down the rail while holding this shape here. Now, all I'm really concerned about in the initial stage is the front end. Okay, so break it into 3 pieces. Step 1 is you can just hinge that horse's head and neck. You can basically do this and just bring that nose in, to the point of their inside shoulder, maybe a little bit further. And you can maintain forward motion going down the rail. Okay? That's step 1. Just get that hinging good. I'll go the other way with it. And on a green horse, you're just, like, it's all you can do to get this. Because the moment you try to do that shaping, they want to instantly follow their nose. You start to lose the shoulder. So you are just worried about creating this positioning here. Notice how this is basically just this, but in motion. Okay? We're keeping these feels the same. All right? So that's the first thing you're going to do. Walk and trot, you can also do that at a canter. We talk about that in other videos. Then what we're going to do is we're going to add the shoulder, so we're not just going to tip their nose in and develop a little shape in their head and neck. We're actually going to pick up the inside shoulder, and we want to feel a shift of weight towards the rail. Okay? We don't want to run our horse into the fence, but we want to pick up and create some lift and feel that shoulder step off to the outside just a tad. Let's do that one more time. So I'm going to pick up. You can see me, I smoothly gather him. If I'm feeling a little bit of chaotic, sort of lost energy, I just wait till he's with me and then release. So now we've got head and neck plus shoulder. So we got 2 pieces now. Here we go. Shape head and neck. Pick up the shoulder. So I've got, I tell my students, like my lesson kids a lot, pin that shoulder to the rail. Meaning, take that horse's balance and pin that thing to the fence. Get a committed shift of weight over. You can even leave a little bit of room between you and the fence so that if their shoulder steps over here just a tad, you're good to go. You got room still to maneuver. Okay? Now, can we hold this? Yes, we can. So I'm going to release. Okay? Now, the third thing that we're going to add is the hip. But we're going to go through that same sequence. Pick up, shape the front end, pick up the shoulder. So we got front end. Now my outside leg goes back. Hind end. We're going to bring that and step that hip up and through, but keep tracking forward. And I feel that, I'm going to release. Previously, we've done a lot of 2 tracking. We've done our leg yielding exercises. The horse knows how to counter bend. They know how to bring that hip up a little bit. So this should be relatively simple. Develop shape. Outside leg goes on. Bring that hip up underneath. I'm just going to tap him there because I didn't feel like he really moved. There, you see that shift in him? Now I'm going to release because otherwise I'm going to run the camera over. But the idea is get into that, be able to hold that on a forward line. What everybody does is they get that hip so canted over. They get it so angled over. They kill their forward move. And then they can't really get the horse gathered because they've got his hip angled in so much, they're effectively disengaging the hindquarters. You want to push the hip up but maintain impulsion. So I'm just talking to him here with my legs, just there we go. Getting that hip brought up under me, getting him leading with it slightly, and not losing the front end. This inside leg is keeping that shoulder in place. Now there we're just kind of, I don't know where we were going, but we're going to get back on our line here. There we go. However, I want it to be a relaxed walk. Like, obviously we're compressing the horse, so they're going to get somewhat short-strided, and we do want that collection. But we don't want them dancing and rushing and getting tense. So if I feel that, I'm just waiting, continuing to drive him forward until I feel something better. But this is basically the little sequence. Head, neck, shoulder, hip. Think about it in those three pieces. Now this is your flying lead change as well, once we get to that point. But you can see, he's not quite comfortable to let me blend all those together in a more dynamic way. When I had it really disconnected and I was just focused on the neck or just focused on the shoulder, it was better, wasn't it? He was more relaxed. Now you're starting to see, as I try to blend those together and take a hold of him and get him gathered in one smooth motion, that's a little bit more challenging. Suddenly, we're a little more lost here. Okay, I'm just tapping with both feet, in fact, just pushing him forward here. Okay, if I start to lose balance, just channeling him forward. There, when he finds that centered position, releasing. Do that again here. Pick up. That was very willing, but we were on the same side, so he's expecting it. Let's go down the middle and see if we can change shapes side to side. You guys, in another video, we covered the hinging. This is basically that. So let's see if I can pick up on him and kind of keep it dynamic here. So I'm going to shape him to the right. You can see we got a little bit of tension there. I'm just going to float my hands back to stay with him. Just stay with him here. I'm just bumping. If he's trying to run through my leg, I'm getting just louder or quieter as needed to keep him within this box here. He settles into it. I start to give back to him. Okay, but the key is we need to hold this for longer. And a lot of horses cannot do this. Or when the person tries to do this, when the rider tries to teach this stuff, the horse just instantly lopes off. They don't let you actually take a hold and shape them with your legs because, again, the horse is just throwing their own ideas in the mix and not listening. Here, we're just a little bit lost, right? There. We need to get this energy channeled onto a forward track that's consistent. Okay. Let's go the other direction. I'm adding more of a pause in between because of how much resistance there was. But as we go forward, we're going to start to blend this to where we can change shapes going across the arena like you guys have seen in other videos or in my counterbending at the canter on a circle drill where we change shapes as we're continuously loping around. We're going to get to that level here. This is where it starts though, pick up, gather him, create shape. We settle into it for 5 or 6 strides there. There's a higher level of relaxation. Ease out of it, pick up and go the other way. Trying to stay on the same line. There we go. Because this is the other thing that happens when people go to maybe they can get in that position. The horse will let the rider put them in that position. But then the second the person tries to lope off, they lose that balance. And that happens for a couple reasons. One, the horse is just not confident to hold that. Two, the rider has to kick the horse so hard, especially with outside leg, that the horse ends up just falling away from the rider's leg off balance rather than channeling that energy through the rider's legs. Like you're going up a little loading chute, between your legs and right out through the bridle. Good. And if that's happening, what you need to do is a lot of this at a trot and then practice from a trot, which makes it easier because you've got energy. You're trotting along, you adopt that shape, and then you try to lope off from there. And the moment the horse starts to lose that, you bring them back into that shape, okay? We're just going to try to do this at a jog there. That feels not terrible. My mic cord is just kind of getting caught on some stuff. Okay. What I'm going to do, in fact, is as I go across here, if I feel like he's drifting a particular way or he's leaning, I'm going to deliberately shape him in a way that is the opposite to what he was thinking. The whole idea is to get him more consistently balanced across here. That was good. We found our spot. I'm just kind of letting him tell me here. If he doesn't give me something, just let him be for a second, and then I'll pick a direction. Maybe I decide to go to the right, pick up and shape that way. So we're getting tense, kind of short-strided. Maybe I counterbend around this end here rather than go where his nose is pointing. Just kind of mix it up, just encouraging balance. We settle back onto our line. Okay, now we found our nice centered position. We're good. Pick up and shape the other way. Not bad. Not bad at all. We're going to go that same way again. A little bit of a delay, but he didn't argue too much. Go to the left again, that way I can just counterbend around this corner. Step up into yourself. We're going to go diagonally across. That feels good. Maybe I change shapes a little sooner. Go back to the right. That feels good. Again, he's a little bit, wandery. Like I'm still having to keep him hemmed in sometimes with my legs and help him. But on the whole, that wasn't bad. I'm actually going to let him walk there for a second. Job. So that's the kind of stuff that is like the dirty work to get that lead departure dialed in. We're not done yet. I was just making a big point to give him a release when he felt really good. Come around here. I'm going to maintain this shape. Take it straight again. Good. Okay, now we'll walk and we'll stay at a walk for a couple minutes here. Good boy. So, getting back to the actual lead departures, not only will I go through that sequence when I go to lope off, but if my horse really gets out of sorts, like let's say I go to lope off, I instantly lose the shoulder, like his balance is completely off, he's not listening. Well, I can bring him back down to a jog or even a walk and reinforce that shaping because my legs were on the entire time. What you're trying to show the horse is that no matter what speed they're moving at, oh, that shape is a consistent feature. They need to maintain that both before, during, and after the departure. Like I was alluding to earlier, what happens to a lot of people is they get the horse shaped up, they're ready to lope off, and then when they go to actually get into the canter, they're kicking to drive the horse into it, and they lose any kind of balance or shape that they had established at the walk or jog. You want to be able to hold that as you go into that upward transition. And that takes some practice if you want to make it easier by doing a lot of jog to lope transitions. I do that all the time. People say that's heresy, but I say you want to have enough forward motion. If you have to help the horse get into the canter easier, so you're not kicking the shit out of them and losing your balance because you got your inside leg working so damn hard, any shape or orientation you created, you're just killing that every time. Well, if that's happening, make it easier on yourself. Start at a trot where you've got more energy that you can carry through that and use a little momentum to help them find that canter. Once you can consistently do that and maintain that shape a little bit better, then lope off from a walk. Okay? So what we're actually going to do with this guy is I'm going to lope around. I'm going to do a few transitions like that. I'll go up from, say, a walk to a lope or a trot to a lope. I'll probably start at a trot here, and I'll just kind of take him up and down and do a little shifting of gears here to practice that, and we'll just kind of work on it as we go around. He might be very good about it. He might be tense. We'll just see what he feels like. Just to make it easy, we'll start at a trot here. We'll start in the right lead. So what I might do is just kind of pick a line, like toward that mounting block over there, develop a little bit of shape, and then see if I can move through that. Well, I'll round the corner first. I don't want to cheat by using a corner. We'll get centered up in the middle, and I'll do that. Okay, get shaped up to the right. Now I'm going to see if I can hold this position. First, I'm going to take my time getting him into it, not let him rush me here. So if he's wandering all over, like I'm not even going to bother loping off. We're just going to create that shape first. Once that's better, then we can go. Okay, but my inside leg is still on. Like I want to practice. Like I want to feel that shift of balance there even as I lope off. Maybe I counter canter around the end. So I'm still working with that same inside leg that was standing his shoulder up earlier. Ease down to a trot here. Just reconnect him, meaning get him just centered again. Shape up, establish my line. But if I feel tension or like he's rushing me, I'm not going to let him lope off. There. Release. I didn't lope off just then because I felt like that would have been playing into his anticipation. Too much. He felt very forward just then. Come across here. That feels better. He's stiffer that time, but he's not instantly trying to shoot forward. He's letting me shape him better. There. We maintain that line. Now I will round the arena. Maybe we'll just stay on a circle over here. He's not quite as soft as I'd like. That was pretty good. Easy. Now I'm really going to get in his way here because we're all over the place. He needs to drive up and meet my hands and come back centered. There. One more from a trot here, and we'll do a couple from a walk. Establish my line. Ooh, very good shape there. Okay. Maintained it very well. Let's counter-canter around the corner. So we've got a similar shape working here. Very good. Maybe we'll circle down here. It's very, very stiff here, very tense. Get him centered back up. Good. That feels nice. I'm actually going to do that counter-canter corner one more time because he was a little bit worried coming out of there. We haven't done our counter-canter and shape drills yet for lead changes, but that'll be coming. There we go. Even in the counter-canter, we can find that center position. Easy. Good boy. Let's go from a walk now. Just getting that position solidified in muscle memory. Setting that anchor. And then anytime I lose him, bringing him back there. Creating some structure, creating some consistency. That way he knows he's got a safe little base that he can always get back to. There's a feel that he can give me and that I'll ask for pretty consistently that is exactly what I want, and I just leave him alone and let him exist within that when he does it. All right, let's get shaped up here. Find my line. Go from a walk here. He maintained that reasonably well. Now here he got a little tense, so what I'm going to do is just continue the circle in that corner just until we find our centered spot again. Good boy. Easy. Come back to me now. Now, by come back to me, I mean rate back to me, but don't hide either. Like, combination of stiffness and hiding from the bridle, it's not what I want. Let's do that same lead again from a walk. I just had to really push him through there that time because there was a lot of resistance just then. Just because we're doing a downward transition doesn't mean you can't stay engaged. So I'm pushing him up to that bridle. I do want him to soften into that. This is very good here. Very good. It's just rushing a hair, so I'm going to stay on that circle down here. There we go. There, I felt him really relax. I'm going to stay here one extra circle to make sure that's real. Easy. There, I had to really get in his way because he was simultaneously stiff in the face, but then you saw what he was doing with his body. Everything behind his throat latch was trying to basically just shut off and side dump away from me. There was no connection or that throughness that we talk about. We'll do that again here. Partly because he wasn't expecting me to do that. That's exactly why I did that then. That's exactly why I threw that transition in there. Might do another one here. Easy. Good. Now that time he had second thoughts. He was still kind of bad about it, meaning rough, stiff, not driving through and up to the bridle and letting it alter his feet. That's maybe the best way I can describe that, is that he's simultaneously stiff, yet backing off my hands. What I mean by that is his mouth and his chin and his head hide from the bridle, but his legs and body keep trying to motor and smash forward. So basically, I'm losing his front end. So the way out of that is actually forward. Even though he's with his feet, he's trying to plow through my hands. I have to use my legs to actually push him forward more to get him reconnected to the bridle again. The best way I can describe that is like if you're in a car and suddenly you're driving down the highway, both front wheels fall off. So the axles slam onto the pavement and you're going 70 miles an hour, so now the car is sliding forward. You no longer have any steering control or brakes because the wheels are gone. The chassis is still sliding, however, because it has momentum. That's basically what's happening in a nutshell, is that I'm losing his face, but his legs and body keep trying to power forward and slide forward anyways. His nose is not connected enough to his feet in that downward transition. So we're going to do a couple more. Now that I kind of took a break explaining that, we'll do a couple in quick succession to see if we can get a better feeling. Still picky about that departure. And then easy. So I'm picking up smooth here. Now again, you see his body going all over, right? That's what he realizes. There's a barrier in front of him, but rather than go up and meet my hands, he's just trying to basically go past them. And that's not what I want. So that's why I pushed him forward through that, but still got him soft. Let's do that again. Right lead as well. Now, there's a great example of where I could either shape him again, or I can do this. Okay? Get that weight on that outside hind, get some engagement there, and then we go off. Just a little, turn the key in the lock type of transition. Easy. Still wandering, still arguing, but slightly better. Wait till he lines out here. There. Okay. Do that again. Easy. Okay. Now, it doesn't have the throughness that I wanted, but he was a little nicer about it, which is why I hesitated before I drove him through up to the bit. Like, I'll celebrate those small wins. Let's go in the left lead a couple times, but we're going to do the same thing. Create my line, create my shape here. I'm still going to be picky about that if I'm feeling wayward energy. That feels good. Now there, again, instead of turning him around, I could just reestablish my shape because I kind of lost it as I was going into the departure. We'll try again once I get parallel to the fence. That time he was on target. Easy. Ooh. Okay. Not bad. Not great, not terrible. A hell of a lot more honest that time. Let's go back to the right because just in general, as I've been loping him, as I've had him in training, the right lead lope is kind of his weaker side. Create my line, shape, just gluing those three pieces together. Get that established. Legs stay on. Hold that before, during, and after. Okay. I'm going to reestablish that here because I felt him start to immediately get stiff and start kind of arguing. Before I really was ready to let him be pitched away, he was already kind of arguing. So I'm going to bring him back down to a walk. I'll give him a release there when he finds his spot and holds that. Then we'll come back this way. This is kind of how I think through this type of stuff. Some horses, you have to really up the ante, like lots of intensity, energy to get them to pay attention. This horse, we need to slow down kind of. Better. Easy. You wanted to listen, didn't you? He wanted to listen. He thought about it. Okay, we'll stay in that right lead then, if that's kind of the malfunction. Specifically going around that corner. Let's do that one more time. Maybe a couple more times. That was nice. Easy. Oh, that time he put the brakes on, about pitched me over the horn just then. I'll let him have that. There's a heck of a lot more honest. And, I felt a real change in his feet as opposed to just totally losing him. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to set up a departure and round this corner and then come back that way, which is almost every time that we've come from this direction, it's been bad. So I want to see if we can end on a better one from this side. I will just use the corner just for the sake of space here. Still get him shaped up. Easy. Okay. That's the ticket right there. We're going to go back to that spot maybe a couple more times. What I'm doing, though, is I'm going to shorten the interval and not come all the way across, around the corner, and then go down. I want to do shorter distances here on these next few. Easy. Good boy. This is actually going to improve his stop as well. Good boy. Good boy. Easy. Oh, that's it. Well, I'm actually going to let him stop all the way. Okay, now I shortened the interval, so I actually made it easier for him to do that. A true test of this would be, can I go a couple circles or go like up and down the arena lengthwise where, he's more prone to building up a head of steam if he starts getting ahead of me, and then can I ask for that? But now I've kind of, just by testing that, especially that corner over there, I've got kind of a baseline of like what his tendency is. So I know about the optimum distance where I start to cross that threshold where it's like, all right, he might leave me mentally, or if I ask for a transition here, it's going to be unexpected, right? And it's going to get a lot more resistance. So what I can start doing over the next couple rides is walking him right up to that line and gradually lengthening and lengthening by increment how long I'm loping with him pitched away before I ask for that downward transition. His lead departures, for the most part, checked out. As long as I'm diligent and not rushing those will be good. You saw me make a couple corrections just in the moment, but we kept the flow. That downward transition, though, that's going to require some more work from me and some diligence there on just finding the right balance between lope off, go just long enough to where maybe he's starting to leave me slightly, but not so long that he builds up a huge head of steam and then it creates a big fight. The interesting thing is with this horse, part of the reason he's here, in fact, is because a narrative got created that he didn't want to stop, quote unquote. Well, this thing has a ton of stop in him. What he needs is some confidence, knowing how to rate himself. There was a couple times even where, especially going around that corner, he was slow and I kicked him. He sped up initially and then he rated right back to me. That was really good. I made a mental note of that. But then there was other times when I had him pitched away, he just was like, oh, I think we're doing a rundown. I think this is a rundown. And his brain went into that mindset, just like earlier where I was trying to do a more methodical turnaround on the foot. And his mind was defaulting to, oh, I got to spin. This is a spin. I got to spin. I just have to keep showing him by contrast that no, that's not what I'm asking for. There's a specific cue for that. If we're not doing that, you need to listen to me. So we're going to keep building that structure there. But that was actually a decent little session with him, and it gives me a lot of good info on what I'll be working on the next few sessions. So I'm going to cool him out, but we'll go ahead and call it good there for today.